I think I'm on. Hi. What's up? Sorry, that was a bit fakely enthusiastic, but I'm really, really excited to be here. Thank you so much for tuning in for this YouTube Live. I'm Kendra Perry. I am an online business coach and mentor for health and wellness coaches and practitioners. So I am a former functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and now I help people like my old self build their online businesses. So more specifically, I help coaches who are relatively new and who are just struggling to get started, and they're not generating a consistent 5K a month, and they haven't figured out yet how to make coaching a full-time position, right? Something that actually pays you bills, brings in money, and provides a sustainable and profitable career, right? So that's what I do. And today we are talking about email lists, okay? One of my favorite topics, because email lists are both incredibly confusing, but also incredibly important, okay? And this is something that's very interesting, not meant to scare you, right? But it is a fact, okay? So Facebook, not that long ago, maybe like 6 weeks ago or something like that, or 2 months ago, put out an actual statement saying that they were going to start censoring and deleting accounts and groups on Facebook that were focused on health and wellness because they believe that people should get all their health information from their doctor. Boo. Right? Bullshit. I'm not a big fan of all the censorship that's happening lately, regarding a lot of different things. I think it's, I'm not someone who stands behind censorship, even when people are saying batshit crazy things. I think we are autonomous, sovereign beings who can make our own decisions about what we choose to believe and not to believe. I do not want Mark Zuckerberg or any social media giant living in Silicon Valley telling me what I should and should not believe and see. That is a whole nother topic, right? And maybe you're with me with this. And maybe you're aware of some of the censorship because it's actually been happening for quite some time. This is nothing new. Facebook has shut down a lot of health and wellness focused Facebook groups over the past year. And a lot of the other social media platforms have sort of followed suit in that. So the whole point is there are a lot of unknowns with social media beyond just censorship, okay? There are algorithms and the fact that there's a lot of competition, right? Organic reach, meaning that your ability to reach your ideal clients without paying for it, that's organic reach, is always going to decline as more and more people come onto a platform. Now, I know a lot of people are out there saying, yeah, well, it's because the platforms want you to pay for advertising. And like, sure, that's their business model, but like me and you are pretty small beans. Like our ads budget is minimal compared to these massive companies and corporations that are buying ads on Facebook. Like they're more focused on those people. They don't really care about our money. But what they do care about is user experience, right? And ultimately what will get shown in the feed is going to be based on people's preferences. And as more people join social media platforms and as they get bigger, you have more competition. So less and less people are going to see your stuff. Plus, the algorithm doesn't like promotional stuff, right? They don't want people to be getting spammed with promotions. So unless you're paying for it, right? Unless you're paying for the ad space, anytime you post something that's somewhat promotional, you're going to get less reach, right? So that's why an email list is so important, right? Because with an email list, it is something we actually own. Like we do own the ability to send emails to those people. And it's actually the best place to sell. Yeah, like most people, prefer, and there's been studies on this, prefer to get sold to through email versus social media. Plus, you're going to have a lot better traction because you're going to be able to be a lot more intentional with how you market to people in an email format. So your business, the quality of your business, the veracity, the sustainability of your business is very much based on the quality of your email list, right? And so it's really, really important to consider list building as soon as possible in your business, okay? Definitely one of my biggest regrets is not prioritizing an email list sooner in my business, right? Because I kind of did it at first, but I didn't really make it a priority probably till 3 years into business. As soon as I did, I saw a lot of traction. Okay. So really important to get people onto your email list. I'm going to talk about, what you need to get started, how to actually get people's email addresses in terms of like delivering a freebie and what that should be. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you some sort of best practices. Okay, so when it comes to building an email list, first I want to talk about some really big mistakes that people are making. Okay, one of the biggest mistakes I see is that people are out there pitching an email list. Or a newsletter, sorry. So, or even an email list. They're like, hey, join my email list. Like, who wants to join a list, right? Something to know about email is it is a big stress. Like, everyone's using email right now, and people are getting upwards of maybe like dozens, hundreds of emails a day. And so it's a stress, right? Like nobody wants to get more emails. Like, no one's out there saying like, I want to get more emails. It's just not, it's not happening. It's really not. People do not want to get more emails, right? Back in the day, so like when I first started my blog, which was in 2012, which feels crazy. I could do that. People literally signed up for my email list to get notifications for my blog. People did that because back then it was like a novelty. It was like, ooh, a blog. And yeah, I want to get notified and like, cool, right? Like, it was this huge novelty thing because it was new. But, times change really quickly on the internet. And as more people get on the internet and as more marketers and more businesses get on the internet, people get those offers a lot more. Like, this would be a great experiment for you to do. Like, imagine just for a day, you put a little tick on a piece of paper every time somebody asks for your email address, right? On a day where you're kind of browsing the internet, like that's probably happening several times. So that could be happening like 10, 20 times a day. And then if that's happening every day, like if you said yes to all of that, like your inbox would be a fucking nightmare, right? So people are very, hesitant, shall we say, to give away their email address. Okay. And so just saying like, get on my list or join my newsletter. Cause who wants a newsletter, right? Nobody cares about your business as much as you do. So it's not going to work. Right. So you can't just be there, like sign up for my newsletter, get on my email list, because like people don't give a fuck. They really don't give a fuck. Okay. Nobody cares. Right. So we're going to talk about like what you can offer instead of that. Now, the other big mistake that coaches make is they don't get email marketing software. So they're just storing all these emails in like a spreadsheet, and then they are sending out a mass email through Gmail or something like that, or Hotmail, whatever, Yahoo. Right. That's completely unethical. That is the most unethical way you can market. And I'm pretty sure it's illegal. The reason for that is because people need the ability to opt out. You are holding their personal information, right? You are sending them an email, and they need to have the ability to opt out, aka hit an unsubscribe button. So I'm sure you guys have all unsubscribed from an email before. Like, it's only ethical to give people that option. If you're spamming them through Gmail, through like a mass email, they don't have the option to opt out, and they're going to just mark you as spam if they don't like it, because they literally don't have any other option, and that is not good, right? Nobody wants to get marked as spam. Okay, so excuse me. The other thing in regards to Gmail, most people are using Gmail, but you can't send a mass message to more than like a few hundred people. I've heard it's a max of 500, but it could potentially be less than that. And so as you grow your list, you don't have that option. So you really do need email marketing software. We'll talk in a little bit when I talk about what you need. I'll give you guys my top 3 options for that. And then the last thing is not like focusing more time on social media than list growth and nurturing, right? Obviously, we utilize social media to try to push people onto our list, along with like things like Google search and our website. But I just see so many coaches, like all their efforts are going on to social media, and they don't have a way to capture emails, right? When people join your list, you can follow up with them, you can connect with them, you can build that relationship. On social media, that's not always possible because people sometimes just don't see your stuff, right? These sort of algorithms kind of, look at your preferences and look at what you're engaging with, and then they decide to show you things. You know, an example is there's this woman I follow, Jess, I can't remember her last name, but she talks about human design, right? And I was following all her stuff like super obsessively, and then maybe my interactions changed a little bit, but I just stopped seeing her stuff, and it didn't even occur to me that I hadn't seen her stuff. And then like literally months passed, and all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, Jess Fields, that's her name. I'm like, what's she up to? You know, what's she talking about? And I, you know, and then I started engaging with her stuff again. But, you know, for whatever reason, I stopped seeing her stuff for literally months, right? You know, had I been on her email list, she would have still been able to keep in touch with her. But she can't intentionally keep in touch with me if she doesn't know that I'm no longer seeing her stuff, right? So yes, social media is important. We do want to utilize social media intentionally, but social media is a means to an end of getting people onto your email list and getting people onto a sales call. Okay. So let's talk about what you need to actually start building a list. So the first one, like I said, is email list software, email marketing software. So you guys have probably heard of MailChimp. That's probably the most common one that people use. Do not use MailChimp. They fucking suck. I'm going to be totally blunt about that. They are not very functional. They have a really confusing like user platform or user kind of dashboard interface. They have terrible customer service. It's not a good platform. Plus, I know they're doing censorship. They are censoring right now, not necessarily health and wellness, but they have been censoring people talking about medical freedom, people talking about politics and that sort of thing. So I'm always hesitant to use someone who believes in censorship. But anyways, MailChimp sucks. And most people go for them because they have a free option. But the truth is, as soon as you're past the free option, you're paying as much as any other platform. So my favorite all-time platform is something called Convertkit. So Convertkit. Convertkit is what I use. They have the most user-friendly interface, great customer service, and they'll be able to handle anything that you want to do. So if you want to potentially, you know, do more complex marketing things in the future, you will be able to do that with Convertkit. My next favorite option is probably Activecampaign. Activecampaign is one I've also used. I prefer Convertkit. I think it's way more user-friendly, way easier to figure it out. But I still like Convertkit better. And then the third one I would recommend is probably Mailerlite. Now, Mailerlite, you can get a free option, which is great. It just doesn't have as much functionality. So if you ever want to move beyond like one-on-one coaching, it wouldn't be my top choice. So if in the future, you're like, I would love to launch an online course one day, or I would love to launch a group program or a membership one day. If those thoughts are at all in your head, then do not go with Mailerlite, go with Activecampaign or Convertkit. And I highly recommend Convertkit over Activecampaign because if you only ever want to do one-on-one coaching, then yeah, totally. I think you could use something like Mailerlite, but if you have any aspirations to do something bigger than that, then that's not going to support you. D. Freeman, hello. What are your thoughts on Sindit? I actually have never heard of that, so I cannot speak to that. I'm very sorry. But I tend to, so I'm a little hesitant. I don't know if this is a new thing. Maybe this has been around for a while. But typically the email marketing platforms that have been around longer have a better reputation with things like Gmail and Yahoo and that sort of thing. So, the reason I like Convertkit is because they actually have the best open rates, right? And email open rates are really important. We want as many people as possible to open our emails. And in testing, I've been on Mailerlite, Convertkit, Activecampaign, Get Response. I've also done, I also do Convertkit. Convertkit gets the best open rates, and I've heard that by a lot of people. And it's just because they've been around a long time, so they have a really good reputation. So not saying that that's a bad platform. I just can't speak to it because I don't know anything about it. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's that email marketing software, okay? The next thing you need is something to actually exchange, right? Because what's happening when you're email marketing, you're getting someone's email, you are exchanging something of value to get their email list. So they're getting it for free, but they have to give you their email address in order to get it. But remember, people don't want to give their email addresses out readily, right? So you have to give them something pretty juicy. Like this is really going to be some of your top content that you give away for free. And I'm sure you guys have opted in for something, where you put in your name, put in your email address, and then you've received an email in which you receive the download of whatever that is. Okay. So you need something really juicy to give away for free. Now, I'm going to give you some freebies, which I think perform best right now. But something you want to keep in mind is that people are highly distracted, right? I used to say a lot that people have short attention spans, but I don't know if that's true because people listen to the Joe Rogan podcast for like 3 hours, right? Sometimes I binge Netflix for like 10 shows. It's ridiculous. So I don't know if people's attention spans are really slow. I just think people are easily distracted, right? And when something is free, people aren't necessarily like attached to it or committed to it. When people actually pay for something, it's going to be more top of mind than when something is free. So the goal with the freebie is always to get them to the end of it so that you can pitch them into your program. You can offer them a sales call, or you can, basically you're going to be offering them a sales call, right? So it's got to be really high value. Like it's got to be super juicy. Like they want to see that and be like, oh my God, I fucking want that. Right. But it also shouldn't take them that long to get through because people are distracted. And if they get something for free, it's not going to be top of mind. So you want them to be able to finish it in I would say about 10 minutes. Like I really wouldn't go too far beyond that. The exception would be something like a webinar, but a webinar is like way, that is like advanced, technical, like not something we're going to talk about. So you want it to be quick. Like you want it to be really, juicy, but you also want them to be able to get to the end of it quickly. Okay. And we'll talk about what types of freebies are best in a second. The next thing you're going to need, and this is where things get a little bit technical, and typically this is the most technical thing you will do early on in your business besides build a website, although I do not recommend building a website for at least a year or two into your business. But this is landing page software, okay? And people get so confused by this. They're like, well, what is landing page software? So obviously, when you have opted in to get something for free, maybe there was like an e-guide that you wanted, you put in your name and your email address, and then you hit a button, and it brought you to a page that was like, thank you for opting in. Check your email, right? That is landing page software. So it's actually the web page that delivers the free offer. How does this differ from a website? Well, a website has a lot of shit on it, right? A website has a menu, might have a sidebar, there's things all over it. Your website is kind of like this overview of what you do, whereas a landing page has one specific objective, and that is to give you the freebie. So to pitch or offer the freebie. So there's no distractions. There's no menu. There's no sidebar. You get to that page and it tells you about the freebie and gives you a place to type in your stuff. Okay. Because you don't want people to get distracted. If they're landing on that page, it's because they're interested in what you're offering for free, and you want them to just basically opt in. You don't want them to get distracted looking at a menu or a sidebar or something like that. Okay, so you need landing page software. Now, the good news is a lot of these email marketing softwares actually have basic landing pages, and all you need is a basic landing page. I love Convertkit because they have lots of great templates, and you can easily create a landing page right in Convertkit, so you don't need to buy separate software. And if all you have right now is one freebie, then I actually don't recommend spending money on landing page software because you can get separate platforms that will give you multiple landing pages, but they're typically quite expensive. So I use ClickFunnels, love ClickFunnels, but I have a lot of different offers. Like I have, probably 4 or 5 different free offers. Plus I make all my sales pages in there. I'm paying $300 a month, right? You don't need to pay that, right? You can get this all in one with your email marketing software. Because for a freebie, you really just need like a basic landing page software. So if you're using Convertkit, they've got it. I believe Activecampaign just brought them in, and Mailerlite does them too. But again, I like the designs of the Convertkit ones best. Okay. The next thing you need is some sort of onboarding sequence in the email. So when you people type into that form and they're like name, email address, get the freebie, they receive an email. So that's the confirmation email. It says, hey, so glad you wanted to download this workbook. Here's the link, blah, blah, blah. And so that's very basic, right? You just get this confirmation email. But what a lot of people will see benefit from is actually creating an email series that people get when they opt in, that sort of warms them up to who they are, what you do, and how you can help them, right? If you guys have ever opted in for any of my freebies, you know that I put you through like a 6 or 7 email sequence, okay? This is a bit more advanced, but the whole purpose of it is to introduce new subscribers to you, your story, who you are, what you do, and how you can help them. And then eventually at the end of that email sequence, you say, hey, get on a call with me and we can talk about working together, right? Because after a 10-minute freebie, they may not be ready yet. They may not be warmed up enough for in order to be ready to book a call with you, right? So that's where the email sequence is great, because it helps warm them up, okay? But it takes a long time to write a nurture sequence. This is something I teach inside Health Coach Accelerator, and I give people full templates because it does take time to write. But if that is really overwhelming to you, just put that confirmation email, right? Because what you want to do is you actually want to send your email list a weekly email where you share a story with them, you teach them something, or you share a video with them. Like, that's where you have to build and nurture the list. So if you guys are perhaps on my email list, you know that every Tuesday I send out a super high value business tip. Like, it's super not only valuable, but I try to make you laugh. I try to make it super entertaining, right? Because people get a lot of boring ass emails. So I do that every week, and I've done that every week for years. And the purpose of it is for me to help you, because I'm here to serve you and provide value to you, but also build the relationship and give you that really free, high value content. So when it does come time for me to launch Health Coach Accelerator, you're like, I'm in. This chick provides all this great value. I've learned so much from her. I'm really excited to work with her and be in the coaching program with her. So really, really important, right? So that's basically what you need now. So you need the software, right? The marketing software, email marketing software. You need something to give away for free. You need the landing page software, which you should have inside any good email marketing platform. And then you need, at a minimum, a confirmation email that basically says, so glad you wanted to download this freebie. Here's the download link, and this is what you can expect from me next. So I'm going to be emailing you every Thursday at 8 a.m. And this is what I'm going to be sending with you, just so people know what's coming next. And then the final thing is the tricky one, okay? And this is traffic acquisition. So where is the traffic coming from, right? Because if you want people to download your free offer, you actually have to get those people to the landing page, right? So you got to pitch it to people. And this can be challenging, right? And there's basically 3 different ways, that you can get traffic acquisition. First is organic content, right? So that it would be posting a video, on Instagram, and where at the end of the video you offer the freebie, right? Or it would be, offering it in an Instagram story, or offering it in a Facebook post, or at the end of a Facebook Live. It could be through a blog post. Like, maybe you write once a month, you write this really awesome blog post for your website, if you have one, and you could pitch the freebie in there as well. And then also just on your website in general. Some people have pop-ups, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of different ways that you can, pitch this organically. And when I say organically, I mean you're not paying for it. Something to keep in mind, though, that's tricky is when you're new, you don't have a big audience and it takes time to grow one. So it can be hard to get traffic if all you're doing is organic content for your own social media and blog. So that's where collaboration comes in. And collaboration is a incredibly potent and powerful way to get more traction in your business, get more leads to your list, get more clients without paying for it. Does it take work? Absolutely. Free things are always going to take work, right? And so what I mean by collaborations is actually finding like-minded practitioners, people who do something similar to you, that that your audience is probably in their audience and vice versa, and you do something together to sort of cross-pollinate audiences. So an example would be going on a podcast, right? Being a guest on someone's podcast, or guest blogging, or going on some sort of online summit and being a guest speaker, right? Even directly doing something, you're like, okay, like, like, for example, you could partner with like a yoga instructor because you're not competing, right? People who want yoga will go to them, and people who want health coaching come to you, but maybe you partner and you do like a series together that combines health and yoga, and then you both cross-pollinate lists, right? So you can do that as well. And so collaborations are something that you should all be focusing on regularly all the time, because they're really, really powerful. And if you don't want to spend money on advertisement, then this is really the only way you're going to grow your audience, right? So it does require stepping outside your comfort zone, right? And a word of advice with reaching out to people: don't just reach out to someone you don't even know and be like, hey, can I be a guest on your podcast? Or hey, can I do this? It has to be mutually beneficial, and you always have to approach it from the point of, this is how I can help your audience, right? Like it's not about you, it's about how you can help them. So for example, with podcasts, if I want to be on someone's podcast, I will go and I'll listen to a few episodes, get an idea of like the vibe of the show, and then I'll actually look through their whole list of episodes and try to look for something they haven't covered that I am also an expert on. Because, you know, I have 2 podcasts. And so when people can make my life easier, if they're like, hey, I noticed you haven't covered this topic, I can speak to that. I'm like, great. And, you know, it's relevant to my audience, then I will be happy to have that person on. And so when it comes to pitching podcasts, which is honestly like a great way to get in front of more people, and they last, right? This is the cool thing about podcasts is when people subscribe to a new podcast, they often go back to the beginning and listen from the beginning. So you can have people find you years later on podcasts, which is cool. That is a really potent collaboration. And I would just say, in terms of getting on podcasts, start with the small podcast. Like, don't start pitching the big podcast. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to get on the Chris Kresser podcast, or, you know, I'm going to get on Wendy Myers or Joe Mercola or something like that, right? Don't start with those big ones, because before you have any street cred, you're not going to get on there. So start with the small ones. Find those small, relatively unknown ones, because that will help you build your profile. Because often with these bigger shows, if they even allow you to apply, they're going to want you to point them to you being interviewed on a podcast, and they'll want you to even timestamp it and be like, you know, point me to a good example of you on a podcast and tell me the minute to go listen to, right? And so you need to actually have a portfolio to get onto some of those bigger podcasts. So traffic acquisition, really big one. A lot of people will complain about not building their list. Building your list does take time, and you actually don't need a lot of people on it to be successful. When I hit 6 figures in my health coaching business, I probably had maybe 800 people on my list. So not a huge number, not thousands and thousands of thousands. It's about quality, right? Because you could have a few hundred people on your list, but they could be really targeted and really high quality, and that's going to work for you, right? But if you feel like no one's downloading your freebie, the first thing to ask is like, what is my traffic acquisition? The other thing is paid advertisement, right? It doesn't typically cost that much to get a Facebook ad up or a Pinterest ad up that delivers your freebie. And that can actually help build your list significantly faster. Typically, you can get leads for a couple bucks, $2, $3. So if you're willing to spend, I mean, I would say you want to be able to spend a minimum of about $10 a day, which is about $300 a month. And that will typically get you, 3 to 6 leads a day, which is great. Over a month, that's awesome, right? That's like a couple hundred or 300 people a month or something like that, which is fantastic, right? And that will build a list. So it is really beneficial to invest in ads, and I think people should do it. But what I would do is make sure your freebie is working for you first organically before you put ad spend behind it, because just putting money behind something will not make it work if it's broken. Okay. So you want to know that people like it. You got some good feedback from it. Your landing page has a good opt-in rate. That would be a good time to consider putting ads behind it. Okay. Now, the next thing, so we've got a few of you, you've got like 15 of you on right now, which is super exciting. So say hi if you're here with me. I'm going to tell you guys now about what types of freebies are best. Okay. So if you guys for those of you guys who missed what I was talking about earlier, it's got to be quick to consume, right? Because people are easily distracted, and when they get something for free, it will not be top of mind, right? So you don't want it to take them longer than 10 minutes to get through. And I'm going to give you five really good options. I have a little list here. The first one is a cheat sheet. So something that simplifies something. So for example, if you're going to do a really awesome Facebook Live and you're going to give away like tons of good information, you could basically like simplify that into a cheat sheet and say, hey, like if you want a cheat sheet for this video we just did, you can opt in. If I was smart, I would have done it for this video, right? Like this would have been a great thing to do a cheat sheet on, right? The next thing would be a checklist. People love checking things off. So an example would be like a morning routine checklist. Again, it needs to be relevant to your niche, right? So if you help women with weight loss, do not make a smoothie guide. Do not make a detox guide. Like it needs to be specific to the people that you talk about, right? But maybe you're an expert in morning routine, so you have a morning routine checklist. Maybe you're an expert in meditation, so you have an intro to meditation checklist or something like that, where basically it just tells people what they need in order to get a certain outcome. The third one is one of my favorites, and that's a workbook, because workbooks are really easy to put together because literally you're just asking questions and putting in little places for people to answer. And the great thing, Canva, I'm going to put that into the comments. Canva.com is a great graphic design site. If you guys haven't heard of it, you need to get on it. It's going to make your life so much easier. But they have a lot of templates. They have workbook templates. Plus, you can buy workbook templates online. People will sell Canva templates, and you just literally upload it into Canva, and then you just edit it. And so one of my freebies, which does the best, is my Define Your Profitable Niche workbook, because I know that new business owners are struggling with their niche. They know they need to niche, but they don't really get what a niche is. And typically the niche they choose sucks, frankly. So I made a workbook that basically walks them through a step-by-step process to help them choose a niche. And this is my most popular freebie. People love it. And it actually didn't take me much time to put together at all, right? Because I actually didn't write much content for it. I'm literally just asking questions, okay? So I love the workbook. The other thing is the roadmap. This is basically something that simplifies things in kind of a step-by-step process. So another freebie I have is a roadmap to creating a profitable group program, right? Because I know coaches, once they get burned out from one-on-one, that they want to maybe do group coaching. But they don't know how to do it and they don't know how to get there. So I've literally created a roadmap that shows them what they need to do to get there. So a good example for health and wellness would be like if you are like a vegan coach, you teach people how to go vegan. It would be like a newbie beginner vegan roadmap. So these are the things you need to do first, and they kind of go through the roadmap. And again, they have infographic templates in Canva, so you could literally build out this whole thing in an infographic. Now, the fifth thing I want to mention, this actually I find is converting really well right now. I find this incredibly powerful, but it will take you more effort. So that's why I'm talking about it last. And that is toolkit or the starter kit. And this is basically a kit of a bunch of stuff, right? People like a lot of stuff. So an example is for one of my podcasts, we have a new health coach toolkit. Okay. And inside the toolkit, they get a done for you client contract. They get an example of a health history. They get a branding worksheet. I believe I have my niche workbook inside there as well. They get an Instagram bio cheat sheet. So a bunch of things that health coaches would need to get started. And everything, so it's basically like a bundle of freebies, right? And so I was able to do this because I have a lot of freebies, so I bundled them together. But if you're willing to put in a little more work, I mean, this could be a really great freebie for you that people actually really want. So let's say, for example, you help women reverse hypothyroid. Like you could have a hypothyroid, a reverse hypothyroid starter kit that includes all the blood markers that they should ask their doctor for, a list of blood markers and maybe what they need, maybe a little interpretation guide, maybe a food guide for, the best and worst foods for hypothyroid. Maybe there'd be a bit of a meal plan. Maybe there'd be like a little like stress reduction guide. Maybe there'd be a recorded meditation. Maybe there'd be a little video, that sort of thing, right? So it's basically a whole bunch of different freebies in one. People really like this because it's a lot of stuff and it just gives them a lot of value, right? Because it gives them a lot of different things. And it also accommodates a lot of different people So I think these can work really, really well. They just do take a little bit more effort, but I do think they have a much higher conversion rate, and I'm definitely seeing that. Okay, so that is what I got for you today. I hope you found that helpful. Do make sure to subscribe to this channel, guys. I post videos every single Thursday, and if you hit the subscribe button and that little bell beside it, you'll get notified. And so do make sure to go check out my channel. I have, dozens of videos on there to help you build your health and wellness business. And if you have any questions when you're watching the replay, definitely ask me any questions in the comments. I do actually come back and respond to all my comments. So if you ask me a question, I will definitely respond as long as it's not a weird question. I got a really weird comment this morning. I swear to God, YouTube brings out some weird people sometime, but I think all of you are amazing. And I will be happy to answer any of your questions. And I will see you next Thursday with the next video. I love you. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.